I am Brenda, 28 years old, single, a company employee, and living with my mother's home. Since I was little, my family has always made fun of me. The reason is my personality. Apparently, I'm different from others. You see, I don't behave like everyone else and always feel like an outsider. Even now, I only have motivation for things related to my interests, and I'm generally indifferent to most other things. My concentration doesn't last at all. However, when I do find something interesting, I pursue it relentlessly and can focus for hours. I used to think this was normal. Until my mother told me.
You're different from others.
My father never spoke ill of me, but my parents divorced, and my brother and I went to live with our mother. My brother, who had always teased me alongside our mother, isolated me within the family. His verbal abuse toward me was particularly harsh. Fortunately, I have a personality that doesn't care what others think, so I wasn't hurt by their words. Unfortunately, my brother's harassment continued into adulthood and escalated further. And now, I'm destined to lead a life as an outcast through some very dirty tactics. When I was in school, I couldn't focus on anything that didn't interest me. Naturally, I found classes boring, and I was often scolded by teachers. However, there was one subject I genuinely liked, and I could concentrate on it wholeheartedly. Only my paternal grandparents understood me in that way. While my brother excelled at everything and was well liked by teachers and parents, he didn't stand out in any particular way. When my brother mocked me as a weirdo, our paternal grandparents would defend me, saying that Brenda would eventually surpass everyone. They praised my talents. Unfortunately, both of them passed away a few years ago, and they never got to see me succeed. After my parents' divorce, my brother and I were taken in by our mother. She constantly berated my father as a terrible man and refused to let us see him. Perhaps she had experienced something unpleasant. As a child, I respected my mother's feelings and never once expressed a desire to see my father. Despite my efforts to be considerate, my mother's attitude toward me remained consistently cold. According to stories I later heard from my paternal grandparents, I resembled my father both in appearance and personality, which might explain why my mother found me disagreeable. Additionally, since I was doted on by my paternal grandparents, my mother's feelings toward me were likely even less favorable. She favored my brother exclusively, and he eagerly joined her in speaking ill of our father, avoiding our paternal grandparents and relatives. My mother's favoritism toward my brother only grew stronger over time. During the final year of high school, I had a disagreement with my mother about my future path. Our fatherless household struggled financially, and my mother hoped I would find employment after graduating high school. However, I had a strong desire to pursue further studies at university. Neither my mother nor I backed down, but ultimately, my paternal grandmother, who was still alive at the time, covered my tuition fees, allowing me to attend the university of my choice. Although my mother was displeased, she couldn't argue when it came to the financial support. Reluctantly, she sent me off to college. Since then, my mother has become increasingly cold toward me. While I could have moved out and lived independently, I didn't feel the need to leave home. You see, my personality only allows me to focus on things related to my interests, so my mother's cold attitude and snide remarks didn't bother me. Driven solely by my passion for studying what I loved, I've always moved forward with unwavering determination. However, as a child, I still tried to be considerate of my mother. Whenever something displeased her, she would take it out on me. It wasn't pleasant, but growing up without a mother wasn't an option. So, I made an effort to listen to her and follow her instructions. Honestly, it was exhausting. But now, as an adult, things have changed. Leveraging my personality trait of not caring about things that don't interest me, I've learned to navigate my mother's moods without stress. I didn't feel the need to move out and live independently. However, circumstances took an unexpected turn. My brother, who had already moved out and lived on his own, returned home after changing jobs. Suddenly, we were back to living together as a family of 3, just like when we were kids. My mother, who had always doted on my brother, was overjoyed to have him back. Despite my brother continuing to mock me as he did in the past, I remained unfazed. My busy work schedule often took me overseas, so I rarely stayed at home. I thought we could manage well as a trio, even with my brother's dismissive behavior. However, it seems my assumptions were too optimistic. My brother tried every trick in the book to force me out of our family home. It seems he planned to live there with his fiancée after their marriage, and I was an obstacle. He desperately wanted me gone. He'd hurl insults at me regularly, put a chain on the front door to keep me out, and even turn off the lights while I was in the bathroom. Childish harassment, really. When he brought his fiancée home, he introduced her to our mother but conveniently left me out of the picture. According to my brother, there was no need to introduce me since I'd eventually move out anyway. Still, I remained unfazed. I thought he'd tire of his antics and give up eventually. But it seems my brother's frustration with my refusal to leave home was growing. And one day, my brother did something outrageous. In the morning, as I was organizing my bag before heading to work, I found something unfamiliar inside, a men's wristwatch. Even though I have no interest in watches, I recognized it. It was a well-known luxury brand. Why would such an item be in my bag? Puzzled, I lifted the watch with my hand, and at that moment, my brother burst into the room with incredible force. He shouted,
"That's my watch!"
I wondered why my brother's watch was in my bag, but since it was his, I thought I should return it and handed it over to him. Then, my brother pointed at me and yelled,
"You thief!"
Why would I be a thief? Confused, I stood there, and our mother rushed in upon hearing my brother's shouts. My brother accused me of stealing a watch in front of our mother. She gave me a sharp look and asked if I was truly responsible. Of course, I denied it. As someone uninterested in material possessions, I felt no allure for a branded watch. Besides, the very idea of stealing from someone was inconceivable to me. Both my brother and mother should know this. Yet, my brother persisted, claiming I'd stolen his precious watch. My mother chimed in, saying,
This child has always been peculiar. She might be capable of anything.
To me, their poorly acted drama was transparent. I needed to leave for work, hoping they'd stop this nonsense. But my brother's excitement didn't wane. He demanded that I pack my things and leave today. My mother continued to glare at me. My brother declared,
"We can't harbor a criminal in this house. Get out."
Criminal. I repeated the word in my mind. While I usually brushed off insults, this time, I couldn't ignore it. My brother had labeled me a criminal. And the fact that he planted the watch in my bag was evident. He resorted to cunning tactics to cast me as a thief and force me out. Regardless of the world's forgiveness, I wouldn't forgive him. Now, it's time for retribution. Understood. I'm leaving. With those words, I walked out of the house. While I didn't agree with my brother's accusations, I had to go to work for the time being. I decided to think about everything later. After finishing work, I returned home. My brother must have assumed I'd left for good because when he saw me, he wore an exasperated expression.
"Brenda, why are you back? Weren't you supposed to leave?"
he exclaimed. I explained that I needed to pack my things. He scoffed and said.
Hurry up and get it over with.
Then he glared at me and stormed out of the room. My belongings weren't extensive, so I was ready to leave within an hour. As I packed in my room, my brother came to check on me.
Hey, all moved out yet?
He teased. I'm leaving today, I replied, emphasizing that I'd take only my belongings. He chuckled and said,
Of course. Don't try to sneak away with my stuff.
Having packed my belongings into my bag, I called a taxi. My destination was a budget hotel. As I got into the taxi, my brother muttered.
You're a criminal. Don't ever come back home.
My mother simply said.
Goodbye, Brenda.
It was an unexpectedly abrupt farewell. Despite having lived together for so long, I didn't feel lonely. In fact, I felt a sense of relief. No more dealing with troublesome people. But I wonder, what are my mother and brother planning now? In my mind, I pictured them panicking. Well, it's not my concern. Let's forget about them. Lost in thought, the taxi arrived at the hotel, a temporary residence until I found a new place. And as expected, my prediction was accurate. The next day, my brother called me right away. Well, what's going on? I answered. Suddenly, he blurted out.
You thief!
Once again, he accused me of being a thief. Huh? What are you talking about? I had no idea.
The money that was here until yesterday. It's all gone. Did you take the household money?
I finally understood. My brother shouted.
You're still a criminal. You even stole the household money. I'm calling the police.
That's my money, I calmly replied. He scoffed.
Yours? Don't lie.
It's not a lie. Why don't you check with Mom? At that, my brother fell silent. I patiently explained to him. Actually, I was the one supporting our family's finances back home. Every month, I contributed money to the household and provided for my mother. After my parents' divorce, my mother received substantial alimony from my father, so she didn't work much. When I graduated from college, the alimony payments stopped, but now she relied on my salary. Occasionally, she'd work part-time, but only for a day or two a week, and she'd quit those jobs quickly. In essence, if I were gone, my mother would face financial hardship. When I left home, I clearly stated that I'd take everything of mine with me. So now, it's up to you. Running the household can be quite challenging since it requires a fair amount of money, you know. Despite not working herself, my mother was quite extravagant. She loved buying new clothes, furniture, and electronics, and dining out or going on trips. I provided her with enough money to satisfy those desires. When funds ran low, she'd become irritable, but with enough money, she'd smile and stop complaining. Upon hearing my explanation, my brother's voice trembled.
Hey, just how much is your income?
He asked. When I roughly told him my annual salary, he shouted.
That's impossible. How can someone as odd as you earn that much?
I replied. It's precisely because I'm different that I can earn this much. My job involves simultaneous interpretation for a multinational company engaged in global trade. I'm valued as a multilingual interpreter. Back in my student days, despite my brother mocking me, I was passionate about studying foreign languages. While other subjects held no interest for me, language learning was an enjoyable pursuit. My mother and brother dismissed it, claiming it wouldn't be useful. They believed I should focus on other studies instead of wasting time on foreign words. But my paternal grandparents understood and encouraged me. They assured me that I would achieve great things. Driven by their expectations, I expanded my language skills beyond Spanish to include French, German, Chinese, and more. Now I can speak 10 languages. There aren't many people who can speak so many languages, which naturally led to a higher income. I explained. My brother, with a tearful voice, responded.
Seriously? I can't earn that much.
My brother returned home claiming it was due to a job change. The reason he left his previous company was low pay. He couldn't stand being left behind while everyone else received raises. However, switching jobs didn't increase his salary. Although my brother was once praised as a good kid during childhood, as an adult, he struggled. Ordinary and unremarkable, he went unnoticed by everyone. Instead of taking action, he blamed others and complained incessantly. It's a lonely existence. I told my brother, "Why don't you try putting effort into something?" In a desperate voice, he shouted,
It's impossible now. Please, Brenda, come back home. I can't support the family alone.
but I refused, saying, "No way. I won't live with someone who treats me like a criminal." And with that, I hung up the phone. Afterward, it seems my mother and brother had a major argument. My mother had assumed that my brother earned a similar income to mine, so she didn't seem concerned when I moved out. However, my brother's salary was less than a third of mine. Frustrated, my mother scolded him, saying,
We can't live on such a low monthly income.
Unfortunately, her words wounded my brother's pride. He erupted, shouting,
Mom, find a job without relying on me.
The once close parent-child relationship is now strained, as you can imagine. Since then, my mother reluctantly started working. Having relied entirely on me for so long, she struggles with any task, often earning reprimands from her boss. Still, she works to make ends meet. As for my brother, he keeps changing jobs. The company he thought would finally pay well turned out to be an exploitative company, and he fled in a hurry. His engagement also ended in a breakup. Nothing seems to go right, and he's feeling defeated. On the other hand, I found a nice apartment near my workplace and moved out of the hotel. Living without constant snide remarks from others is surprisingly comfortable. My work remains busy, but each day feels fulfilling. I'll keep studying and pursuing my beloved career.
How did you find this story? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Until next time in the next video.